Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, distinguished guests, and folks of all stripes, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston Astros podcast for diehard Houston Astros fans from a diehard Houston Astros fan. I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Houston Astros fan podcaster. I'm an entertainer, baseball enthusiast, all-season cold brew drinker, and multi-hyphenate. I'm a Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. Mama Ninfa, even though I didn't know her, was like a second mama to me. I spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer in LA, and now I'm podcasting. That seems to be the career path. Not just for me, just for all comedy writers. It seems like that's the way you do it. You work really hard at UCB or Second City or Comedy Sports, and then you get really close to getting an entertainment job that would be full-time, and instead you get a podcast. This is said podcast. Obviously, I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer in Los Angeles, and now I'm podcasting. This is a Space Cadet Sports Podcast that was born of my Substack, the Space Cadet Sports blog. This is what my brother lovingly calls the Paul Broadpod Ball Blog. I started the Space Cadet Sports Podcast with, the concept that this will be a place where people like the Houston Astros and speak highly of them or kindly towards them. Obviously, the media doesn't really like the Astros. For some reason, I just can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe it has to do with the scandal. Maybe it has to do with us constantly putting the league on notice and beating their favorite teams. So when the media is constantly negative about your team, it kind of gets to be a bummer to follow sports. So I thought I'd give something a shot. I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring and see how I could do here as a podcaster. Trying not to be negative all the time or doom and gloom, just trying to get clicks, We try not to be too reactionary here for the sake of being reactionary. Obviously, some of these games get us really passionate. We get upset just like everybody else. But the whole concept here is that we like the team. We want to be a fan of the team. We're not going to be overly negative. We're not going to do anti-player stuff, silly nonsense that just, we need to move past in sports journalism and as sports fans here. The key word on all this is try. We try here. Don't always hit the mark. That goes with comedy too. This is the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Welcome. Recording here in sunny Los Angeles. I'm joined by my co-host and co-producer, as always. The Roz to my Frasier is in the house. Carla the dog is here with me. As always, I like to give a little qualifier. She may get on mic from time to time. While I don't like to do hot takes, she cannot hold her tongue. She will say whatever she wants. So if I talk on a subject she doesn't like, she will let you hear it, and she will let you know how she feels in the moment, and then maybe apologize later with a couple kisses. Today, I'm looking at my show notes here. It says, today we are going to, and then just blank. Just, whoever produces this podcast, me and Carla, obviously, did not fill that in earlier. So obviously I know what I'm talking about here, but Carla was supposed to fill that space in. Today we're going to talk about the Houston Astros series against the Baltimore Orioles that just finished up, that wrapped up yesterday. If you're listening to this the day the podcast comes out here. And today the Houston Astros are continuing their stretch here against the Philadelphia Phillies this afternoon in Philadelphia. So we are in the grinder right now. I am in the grinder as a sports podcaster and blogger. One thing when I seriously started doing this, I started this last season as a blog and this season as a blog and podcast. I was like, I'm really going to start to feel how many baseball games there are in a season if I start doing this. And my goodness, I'm feeling this stretch just as much as the Astros are. Not as bad as Dubón. Well, we'll get to that later. We're praying for you, Dubón. Oof, that was a hit. But yeah, we're just going to recap that Orioles series. We'll kind of talk briefly about some roster moves and then move ahead to the series against the Phillies. It's going to be kind of loaded podcast here today because we do have a lot to talk about. It's great to see the Astros here. They went 2-2 against the Orioles in this series. My New York Yankees fan Peter, he texted me saying that he wanted us to sweep them, and I was like, "That's a big ask, Poppy. I don't know if we could do that. I know we did that before, but without Kyle Tucker, without Jordan." That seemed like a big ask. But splitting the series, I think, is absolutely fantastic. Fantastics, the musical. No, it's absolutely fantastic. Without Kyle Tucker, without Yordan Alvarez, and even though he hasn't quite been himself as of late, without Ryan Presley, the Houston Astros, your favorite baseball team, went into Baltimore and split a 4-game series against one of the best teams in baseball right now. They might be one of the best teams in baseball this year, but right now they're definitely in a stretch. They are finding success. They are towards the top right now. The Yankees are at the top, I believe, as of today. But they are towards the top of the AL East, which has been just a highly competitive division. This team is it. This team is the video game team of the season. If you're gonna pick up MLB The Show and you just wanted to win a game, this is probably. I guess you could go Dodgers, but I don't like the Dodgers famously. But this is, for me, this would be the team that I reach for in a video game. Arguably, it would be either them or the Dodgers. But this team, I say that to just mention that this team is legit. This team is real. They have not only do they have the media behind them, not only are the media darlings right now, but they actually are legit. They have the talent to back up all of the smoke that is out there about them right now. So truly, the fact that the Houston Astros can come in here kind of limping a little bit and split this series that is a playoff test is huge. No Tucker and Jordan. It's very little protection in that lineup. The Houston Astros really, I always say I'm a fan of baseball. I'm a huge baseball nerd. But I'm not ever trying to come from a place where I know, everything I say is word and bond and truth. These are my opinions. And it's very much. While I know a lot about baseball, it is from a fan's perspective, but I do like to try to explain some things sometimes here. So what I mean by protection here is when you have batters like Jordan and Tucker, they are big bats. They're bats that people fear. Even though people are saying that Jordan is an underrated, fearful bat, people still, you saw Cora walk out. Manager of the Red Sox, Alex Cora. We saw Cora walk Yordan Alvarez very frequently in that series. There are people who fear his bat. So having a guy in the lineup like Yordan Alvarez does wonders for people that bat in front of him and behind him. You have that protection behind you that that if you're Alex Bregman and you're batting, you're going to get better pitches because they don't want to pitch to Yordan Alvarez. They want, they were more willing to gamble with you than they are to gamble with Yordan or Kyle Tucker. And when you have big power bats like that in your lineup, you create a lot of pressure on the starting pitcher. You create a lot of pressure on the manager. It just makes their jobs so much more uncomfortable, and that kind of makes it easier for other batters in the lineup, whether you are protected by them when you're right in front of them, whether you get put in bigger positions with people on base if you're batting behind him and you're dealing with a more exhausted and frustrated pitcher that just had to walk Yordan Alvarez or battled Yordan and somehow he got on base. And so having this protection in the lineup from those heavy hitters does wonders for a lineup. And it's something that has been the bread and butter of the Houston Astros for plenty of seasons here when they have had deep lineups, and they've definitely not been bit by the injury bug quite as much in previous seasons. So you see them without this protection as I'm talking about, and this lineup is very much a scotch taped together lineup right now. You see a lot of DeZenzo, you see a lot of Whitcomb, you have Ben Gamel, who was just picked off of waivers, starting a lot of games here, playing a lot of minutes. You have new arrivals like Yusei Kikuchi and Caleb Ferguson pitching in big moments. Another arm that just got picked up off of waivers, even though we know him very well, Hector Neris, came in and even pitched an inning in this series. So, this roster, is Dana Brown doing his best to keep this team competitive. And for all the slander that he's had to deal with this season, I'm very happy that Dana Brown has made the moves he's made. At times, they might have been a little confounding for us because, let's be honest, we're casual fans of baseball. We don't have all of the analytics that Dana Brown has. I have FanGraphs. I don't even have the subscription to FanGraphs. I'm over here, I probably, I am a bit of a humble statistician. Like I said, I don't ever try to take positions of authority that I really don't deserve, but I do know a little bit about stats. I do try to delve into that and learn more about baseball. But this guy, the stats that they have, the things that they know are so much more advanced than us. They know what they're looking for. They know the trends better, quicker and faster than we do. So, for all the slander, Dana Brown Scott, you really have to appreciate the roster that he put together that is still out there playing competitive games against some of the top talent in baseball. They're in the middle of it now, so we don't want to speak too soon, but I feel optimistic about the way this roster is looking if they can just get to complete health. We need Jordan back. We need Tucker in that lineup. But let's kind of get to the games here. Game 1 was talked about in the previous podcast. If you want to kind of learn a little bit more about that game, I highly recommend you go back, listen to that podcast. Go ahead, do that now. Wonderful. Thank you for listening to that podcast. I know you know everything about it now, but let's recap it for the couple of fools who didn't go back and listen to the podcast. This is the game where Spencer Arrighetti, the spaghetti man himself, turned us all into Pastafarians. He outdueled Corbin Burns, and the Astros offense took flight without the long ball in this game. As I said, there was no Jordan, there was no Tucker. They did it without the long ball. They won 6-0, and this was highly great for me. Obviously, I have said this in the podcast. Go back. I mean, most of you went back and listened to that other podcast, so you know. But if you know that I've been saying during this stretch of games against these playoff teams, the way the Astros are playing baseball right now, their offense needs to try to get 5 to 6 runs. And, whether that is by, station to station, whether that's playing a little bit of small ball, whether that's, just kind of generating runs by hitting extra base hits in the gap or the long ball, any way you can do it, the Astros need to find a way to win. They need to find a way to get 6 runs, because even if they don't get to 6 runs, these teams have some offensive power. They can score late, as we have found out. This was a Ben Gamel intro game. It was good to see Ben Gamel go out there and immediately contribute. He definitely contributed a lot during the series. It was good to see because that right field position has been tough going lately, and since after Kyle Tucker took that ball off of his shin for that contusion that lasts months. I hope I never get a contusion. After that, maybe a month, we kind of pieced it together with the guys we had. Then it's been really tough lately to find a consistent right fielder who can bring some offense and bring some defense. It looks like Ben Gamel might fit the bill. Moving on to game two, that was an absolute heartbreaker with the Astros losing 5-7. I have a little bit of an article about it on the Substack, so you can check that out at spacecadetsports.substack.com. You can go and read that. You just listened to the podcast, so obviously you're going to go read the article. I'll pause for that. What did he think? Yeah, not so bad. Not so bad. My writing style has been described as crazy. So I hope you appreciated that little article there. Thanks for supporting the Substack. This game, was lost by defensive effort again, as you've just read, and just one moment getting away from the team, and it's been so frustrating that some of these games have just been lost on the margins, on these little plays, these pitches, just one bad pitch, just one bad defensive effort. Just if we just had one more swing with the runner in scoring position, it's been really frustrating, these games that are lost and have been lost so frequently by the Astros when the game is close. But one positive we do have to take away from it is this team is competing. I think it's really hard. It's really hard when you have truly been spoiled by the Houston Astros, 7 straight ACLSs, just these nonstop seasons where even when they're out of it, they somehow magically pull a rabbit out of the hat and come back and they're in contention again by the time the Texans are playing football. I really think that we get spoiled by that. And if you just look up I-45 for my listeners in Houston, you'll see a completely different story of how baseball teams can fare and what baseball fandom can do. There are people out there holding their replica rings, crying into them, saying there's always next year. It's tough. Baseball is really tough. And this team has been so consistent. And the fact that they are still competing in these games is truly a good sign, even if it's absolutely heartbreaking when they win those games. I was talking about defensive effort. JP3 had an error to lead to some early offense from the Orioles in these games. And I know lately in the podcast, for sure on the internet, from the X-Boys, I don't like to call them X-Men because there's nothing but boys on that website. Or the sports radio boomer callers, the Reddit trolls. There's a lot of normal-minded people on Reddit, but the Reddit trolls, I'm obviously making light of people online who are just generally angry. These people that are always angry or calling in the sports radio, they definitely have had a lot of fodder with JP3 lately with some of these errors that he's had. But I truly think these things will shake themselves out. We have once again, talking about being spoiled, we went from a platinum glove shortstop in Carlos Correa to just oopsie daisy. We also have a gold glove shortstop in Jeremy Pena, and that's okay, Correa. You can go ahead and go join the Twinkies. That kind of stuff doesn't happen very frequently. It's really hard to kind of be in the shadow of Carlos Correa, who is obviously a defensive specialist. Jeremy Pena is solid. He is a great defensive player. He's just running into these little bad bounces, these little errors that happen in baseball. This throw, he palmed the ball. So, the problem is you think that, maybe if you have the ball completely in your hand, it's an easier throw. But truly, when you're throwing the baseball, you kind of want it on your fingertips. You don't want it in that palm, because when you throw the ball, it can kind of sail. You don't have as much, when you don't have that good grip on it. A lot of, at least defenders, a lot of position players, I'm not talking about pitching, but, you need that solid grip on it. You don't need to be on the seams unless that's just what you prefer. But when you're making that throw from third or shortstop and you have that ball deep into your palm, it is a tougher throw, and that is probably why I never played infield and I was always in the outfield. I was never good at, getting a good grip on that ball. So it's these things will shake themselves out, and you can't get too frustrated with Jeremy Pena, who is a solid player and definitely has been shaking off a lot of his offensive woes this season. There was an art, I don't really remember where it is right now. Famously, I don't know who I think I am. Infamously, maybe is what I'm thinking. I watch every game. I have so far watched every pitch of the Houston Astros this season. I read I read like it's my job. I read so many articles, so I just don't remember where this one is from. But JP3 is having a good start to his career, not just we're not just talking about him being a good player. His career is taking off in Hall of Fame fashion. He's set to have about a 10 WAR over his first couple of seasons here with the Astros, which for a shortstop, that's like putting him on par or above like oh man, I really don't remember the names, and I'm sorry, I'll have to go back to anybody who has questions about this. But he's basically on par with some of the greatest shortstops in the game with his in terms of that WAR. Right now, his WAR is at 8.7. And he's an incredible player. He's having some defensive issues. I think sometimes things just happen, and I think he'll figure it out. He's obviously a very dedicated defender. He's not the type of player who's just gonna get in his head and kick his shoes and be like, "Oh shucks, well I guess I just stink now." No, he's figuring it out, and these things won't be common. It just thinks that it's been a little more like happening more than we would like as fans. Now, JP3 would make up for it, going 2 for 4 in this game, getting 2 runs, 2 RBIs, and a home run. Jake the Rake Myers also picked up an RBI, and Altuve hit his 17th home run in this game. Overall, the offense hit 10 hits, 5 RBIs, 2 walks, got 5 strikeouts, was 2 for 5 with runners in scoring position, and left 6 men on base. Obviously, not a bad offensive effort. It just was not good enough. It's one of those situations. I said they probably needed 6 runs. They got to five to six. Is what I was saying. Obviously, 6 runs is where you wanted to live. They were just one hit away probably from getting that. They're one little incident away from getting there. However, in this game, the pitching really was the one that lost it for us here. The offense gave a pretty decent effort. Not the winning effort, but you can't be too frustrated by that effort, in my opinion. We're looking at the pitching here. Hunter Brown, Big Diesel, was solid. He got 6 inning pitches, 6 innings pitched in this game. Picked up 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned run, worked 2 walks, or gave up 2 walks, I should say. Got 6 strikeouts and 1 home run was led up by Hunter Brown. Solid start, solid line that just was not enough to get picked up by the offense. Taylor Scott came in, and the next, the 7th inning there, he gave up a hit. He didn't give a hit. He got his 7th hold of the year. That's the other H I'm looking at there. He got his 7th hold of the year, got 2 strikeouts. Scott is looking like he still has stuff left in the tank. We were definitely worried about him earlier last week, I want to say. Just looked like he was probably getting a little worse for wear, but he's still got plenty left in the tank. If we can just keep Scott rested, he will be a great arm for this bullpen going forward, and hopefully going forward into the later months this year. Abreu came in after Taylor Scott and gave up 5 runs in the 8th. Let's just get to it. So it was tough. Not only was it tough to see Abreu out there, not have his best outing, giving up a blown save, but there was one moment where he probably could have traded a run for a double play. He caught on a comebacker. He miraculously caught the ball kind of through his legs with the bases loaded in the 8th inning there, and he looked to third. To try to get the runner going out. He looked home, got through the ball. Oh, just didn't. He tried to kind of pick the guy off from third, running home, I guess is what really was the most accurate way of describing what happened there. The pickoff didn't work really well. Obviously, all the runners advanced. There was no out. In retrospect, the announcers were saying it. Everybody was saying it. In retrospect, you give up the run. You go for the double play, and you hope that you can get yourself out of the situation with just 1 out instead of having to need 3. Hindsight's always 20/20. Abreu has been great. He has the most. He's the most outings for a relief pitcher in Major League Baseball this season. He gave up 5 runs here, and it was his 5th blown save this season. He pitched 1/3 of an inning, gave up 5 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned runs, and a home run. Tough day for Abreu at the office. But when you kind of look at what he's done for us on the season on a whole, this was a moment that got away from him. This was a moment that really sucked for us to have here. But, you just hope that Abreu can turn the page and keep moving forward. After that, Santander grand slam against Abreu to clear clear the bases, win them the game. That's kind of called game there. Brian King came in for 2/3 of an inning and got a strikeout, but that really was a game, and it was so tough. Moving on to Game 3 of the series, the Astros will return in defensive place, killing us and losing a winnable game. Sadly, in this game, the Astros lose 3-2 behind another solid starting pitching performance that is overshadowed by shenanigans. Oh man, I can't believe with all the speaking errors I do, I can't believe I actually said that sentence. Truly the good news here is that Jose Altuve's 18th home run and 40th lead-off homer started the game. It was a good way to start it off. It was some electricity there. Altuve went 1 for 3 with 1 RBI, obviously that 1 home run, and went 33 consecutive games with a hit in Baltimore. He loves hitting there. There was an infographic on Reddit even, it's like every major league park with every hitter that loves hitting there historically. Altuve is when it comes to visiting players, I should say, the best visiting players that visit the park. Altuve obviously not obviously, I'm telling you because not that I don't keep track of the park in Baltimore, but Altuve is a menace out there in Baltimore, and he just continued that in this game. He had that 33 game streak of getting a hit in Baltimore. That is amazing. So that definitely was a little bit of silver lining there. JP3 homered in the 6th. The Astros went up 2-0 at that point in the game. JP3 ended up finishing the game 1 for 4 with 1 RBI and 1 home run. But in the bottom of the 6th, all hell broke loose with a busted play to first from Cole Kauser. He's the reason why people wear those cow hats in Baltimore. In case you're just wondering, is a Oriole a cow? Was I wrong about this all along? No, you weren't. You should have been paying more attention in science class anyway, but you were not. Cole Kauser, a Houston area kid, or a Houston area guy. I guess I could call him kid. I am an old man. I don't mean to be reductive, to be mean to Cole Kauser. I'm just old. But yeah, Cole Kauser hit a liner at first base. John Singleton was in. The man that I've been saying needs to play more. He was in at first, and he kind of took the ball on a bounce. When the ball was hit kind of sharply, but obviously you were going to have to play it on a bounce. Singleton kind of held his ground instead of charged it and played it off of 3 bounces. Framber Valdez, who was pitching at the time, kind of jogged lightly to first. After Singleton picked it up after the 3rd bounce, Cole Kauser was coming down the first base line like a locomotive. He must have seen that train on the tracks growing up as a Houston kid. He was coming down. He was going in head first for a slide to first. John Singleton was sprinting to beat him to the bag. Seriously, lost the foot race by half a step or 3/4 of a step there. And that really was a tough situation. Framber Valdez was not too happy. I mean, he didn't show up, Singleton, but you could just tell the frustration in Framber there. Framber has been Mr. Smiles lately. He's been very happy. This was a tough situation for Framber. Framber ended up pitching 5 2/3 innings in this game, getting lifted shortly after, picking up the loss in this game, going 13-6 on the season. He gave 6 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts in this game. It was tough. It's tough to see the game kind of spiral out of hand because of a defensive play yet again. And once again, this is one of those plays where you're just like, okay, I think I understand people will always be critical of athletes. If an athlete doesn't do anything perfectly, and especially if it leads to the loss of a game, which every mistake pretty much does, they'll find themselves in the hot seat. They'll find themselves the ire of sports fans. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I played softball lately. My hips don't work now. My legs are hurting. My right arm, I think I need to ice it back down again. I need to do that Rookie of the Year, Daniel Stern treatment. Maybe. I am in pain, folks. But anyway, I'm just saying maybe I have a little bit more respect for people playing first. I had to field first for a little bit. I was center field. I definitely did not like first base as much. I let a routine grounder go to my right because I thought the pitcher was going to pick it up, and I ran to cover first, and the ball kind of rolled to where I was standing positionally. So it's like these things are tough. It is what he gets paid to do, of course, but in the moment, he thought hanging back was the right call. He's wearing a lot of ire from Astros fans, and I get it. You're kind of frustrated with the loss, but I truly don't think that was the only moment that contributed to a loss. Plus, when you think about it, really, Framber Valdez jogged to first. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus. I'm just saying it was not a lot of intensity from either player. When you were hoping that one of them would sprint, neither one of them did. So it's kind of worn by both of them in my eye. If Framber was covering first, it might have been a play he could have flipped, but hindsight's 2020. Now we know going forward. That's just how it goes sometimes, and hopefully John Singleton will be able to charge the ball when he knows that it is a fast guy coming down the line. Scott came in after Framber and gave up a double to bring the bases load to bring in the bases loaded and cost Valdez and the Astro the game. Scott picked up his third blown save. He ended up pitching a whole inning, though, giving up one hit, walking a guy, and getting 2 strikeouts. After Scott, Caleb Ferguson came in and pitched an inning and a third. He had a clean sheet there and hit no zeros across the board. Ferguson continues to be an anomaly to me where I'm just not sure what I think of him, but he does come in and does well sometimes, so maybe I just need to be a little bit more gracious and see how he pitches as an Astro as opposed to just judging him off of his past results, because he has been good lately. And Yanner and Breggy picked up a hit in this game. Gamble got 2 hits in this game. Overall, the offense was pretty paltry. Got 2 runs off of 6 hits, 2 RBIs, worked 2 walks, struck out 8 times, was 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position, and left 5 men on base. Once again, don't kill Singleton for this. There's been a lot of tough play at first base lately. Hopefully we'll figure out defensively who the best player is there. Right now, for my money, I actually do think it is Singleton despite this play, but we will see. Moving on to Game 4, the Astros split the series in this game and win the game 6-3, picking up their starting pitcher and hitting late in the game to come back with power and win on the big TV game. Oh, and it looked and felt so good. Yusei Kikuchi, came in and pitched 5 2/3 of an inning. You didn't think he'd get a Lisa Loeb impression, did you? He got 2 hits, or he gave up 2 hits, gave up 3 runs. 3 of them were earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, and 1 home run. Obviously, the high strikeout stuff wasn't quite there with him today. The whiff stuff, that we were hoping for. He did pick up whiffs, but obviously not a lot of strikeouts. But the mix of pitches that he used did work and was effective against this team. Really limited them, despite that, he did give up 3 earned runs. This is a high-powered offense. This offense feels very scary at times. So it was an effective pitch outing for Yusei. Then our old friend Hector Neris came in. He pitched 1 1/3 inning, got a strikeout. He ended up winning the game, or picking up the win for the game, getting his 9th win on the season. And Abreu came in this game as well. for a bounce back 8th inning setup that he did. He got 1 inning pitch with 2 strikeouts and picked up his 32nd hold of the season. These things happen, and I think when you are a high leverage relief pitcher, you're gonna have outings where you just kind of get your cheeks clapped a bit, and what you need to do is like a cornerback in football, which was another position I played very poorly as a young man. I'm not an athlete. I don't ever pretend to be. I have some experience because I was in the realm of athletics, but I learned that I am not an athlete. But you have to have a short memory, whether you're a cornerback or a relief pitcher. Really, and as an athlete, it's good not to linger on things. And Abreu came and bounced back. It was great to see because we can't have. We need a setup guy right now. So it's good to have Abreu in there. Neris looks like he can play the Presley role in the interim. That was good to see as well. Josh Hader came in to dominate. He pitched 1 inning. He did give up a walk, but he did pick up his 28th save. The Astros pitching combined for just 2 hits in this game. So, when we're looking at Yusei Kikuchi's performance, it's like it's pretty darn good when you think about that. The line doesn't feel as good, but it's a lot better of a performance than you think if you would have. Sometimes when you look at the box score, it doesn't properly reflect how the game actually went, and I feel like this is one of those because the pitching looked dominant. Yusei Kikuchi might have felt, a lot of sweat in his hat, but he pitched an incredible game, and more and more Astros fans are looking very foolish for thinking they knew better than Dana Brown at the trade deadline, and at least here at the podcast, you love to see it. The Astros offense broke out in the fourth, electrified by a Caratini single, but put over the edge by a Zach DeCinzo gesture double. I don't, this is not a video podcast today, so I can't do, it's like I'm doing the, I don't know how to describe it. Perhaps an Italian gesture of I don't even know, and I don't want to be mean or reductive or potentially racist here. But it definitely, it's the meme of the Italian hand gesture, I guess is the best way to put it. It was good to see DeCinzo get the double, do the gesture, and then JV Justin Verlander was being interviewed on Fox at the time, and he participated in the fun, and they were giving him a little ribbing for joining in, and like, what even is that, JV? And he just kind of hushed up. He didn't know what to say, just like I don't know what to say about it either. But it was fun. It's good to see them celebrating. The Astros are up 3-0 for those hits being strung together. However, sadly, in the next inning, the Orioles tied it 3-3, getting them back there. Until the 7th, when Breggy and Yanner went back-to-back with big homers in the game. You love to see it. With Jordan out of the game, Yanner went in as his understudy and got the back-to-back home run. Breggy was 2 for 5 on the game. Yanner was 1 for 5. DeCinzo 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs, and Dubón 2 for 3 when we're looking at our multiple hitters in this game. But Dubón really put his body on the line to save a big hit to left field, going full speed into the wall after sprinting for 130 feet to get to it. Doobie looked pretty banged up. He looked pretty hurt, but walked it off. Hopefully, he won't be missing so much time here as he feels it for a bit, I'm sure. All I did was play softball, hit a couple of home runs, hit a triple, no big deal. But I am sore. Oh my goodness, I am so sore. So I can't imagine how it must feel to run full speed into a wall and be expected to play baseball that week. So we're hoping that Dubón is doing well, he's recovering well, and can come back and contribute to this team. This team today, or during that game yesterday, got 10 hits, 10 strikeouts, but got 6 runs and went 2 for 4 with runners in scoring position and left 6 on base. The low point of the game being Altuve did not get a hit, His streak in Baltimore ends at 33 games, which made Orioles fans very happy. The oldest Orioles fan I've ever seen in my life stood up and celebrated Altuve not getting a hit in this game, taunting him. I was just it was just like, okay, I guess enjoy that. That's what you get to enjoy. But yeah, it's always funny to see Jose Altuve get so much hate. I mean, this was a guy that just gave a kid his bat earlier in the season, or earlier in the series, I should say. And even on the, I'll do a little more research, but they were like, oh, he didn't give the kid a home run bat. I believe he gave the kid the bat he hit a home run with. I might be wrong, because it looked like for his next at bat, Jose Altuve had a brand new bat. In this in the game 4 description of it, they were saying that there's no way the kid got the home run bat. So I don't know. It looked like he did to me. It was a good series. Like I said earlier, it was really good to see the Astros compete. Really big shout out to Ben Gamel, who really who stepped in and just immediately started contributing. He looks like he's been an Astro all season. Hopefully, he can still either contribute or drive other outfielders to be able to contribute this season. So we have good production in right field until Kyle Tucker comes back. The Phillies game starts today. That's game 1 is going to be this afternoon in just a couple of hours, where it's going to be Ronel Blanco, who's 9-6. He has a 3.14 ERA on the season with 136 strikeouts. He'll be pitching against Zach Wheeler, who's 12-6 on the season with a 2.73 ERA, sub 1 WHIP of .98. And 170 strikeouts. In Game 2 against the Phillies in Philadelphia, Justin Verlander will be back, and I'm sure the fans will be flippin' happy to see him. He's been 3-3 on the season with a 3.92 ERA and 57 strikeouts. He'll be pitching against Aaron Nola, who's 11-6 with a 3.45 ERA and a 1.18 WHIP. Game 3 will be spaghetti time. Spencer Arrighetti, who will be up there. The stat nerd, I'm going to give him his stats. He's a 27.5 strikeout rate on the season, which is great compared to the 22% average by other pitchers. He has a 10.4 walk rate, 10.4% walk rate, which is a little bit higher than average. His 4.18 FIP is looking good compared to his ERA, and he has a 1.5 FWAR on the season. So shout out to the stat nerd Spencer Arrighetti. He'll be pitching against Christopher Sanchez, the left-handed pitcher the Phillies have. He was a 27-year-old left-hander that kind of converted bullpen arm, or, spent a lot of time in the bullpen earlier in his career, now is starting more regularly. He's 9-9 with a 3.51 ERA and a 1.27 WHIP. And just real quick, we do have a couple of roster notes, as the Houston Astros have had to make some roster moves as they've been finding, having to bring in Neris back, Caleb Ortt coming off of the paternity list, that sent Seth Martinez and Sean Dubin down to Sugarland. Those were the pitchers I speculated would probably be sent down. Looked like I was right. Those two really deserve some awards for helping out the Houston Astros bullpen when they were very beleaguered in the middle of the season. But it looks like now that we're getting ready for a playoff push, we're going for some veteran arms here. They had to make room on the 40-man roster for Hector Neris, so infielder Jacob Amaya was designated for assignment. Jacob Amaya was brought over from the Miami Marlins earlier in the season. He had a cup of coffee with the Astros this year, but has mostly been in AAA Sugarland, and I think he was kind of the backup for Kessinger, kind of infielder defender type that just really wasn't needed too much on the roster this season, and looking forward there isn't much space for him, so they went ahead and DFA'd him. As And we're looking at Yordan Alvarez, who it says here on the Astros website that he is back in the starting lineup today. I will go ahead and just quote MLB here. Alvarez, who was out of the starting lineup for the third game in a row Sunday, was back for Monday's opener against Phillies, batting second and starting in left field. Okay, and that the verbiage there is saying that he's already done it. But we'll see. It looks like he's slotted in to play left field today. But just the verbiage there made it seem like the game was over. Just made me confused as the time here. Definitely will be over probably by the time you hear this. Pardon me there. Kyle Tucker. So sorry. Kyle Tucker is hopeful to be back soon. He is giving Espada hopeful text messages. So hopefully Kyle Tucker is back sooner than later. But him not being with the team, him not having a timeline, a specific timeline besides just hopefully after Labor Day makes me nervous. We're really hoping that we get Kyle Tucker back because he is the secret sauce that's going to make this team a powerhouse playoff contender. Without Kyle Tucker, the Astros are still searching for some answers offensively. Not saying that they can't do it, just saying it will be a much longer, harder road without Kyle Tucker. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. Smash all of the buttons right now. Like, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating. Please share with other diehard Houston Astros fans. Let them know that we're out here trying to do the Lord's work and spread the gospel of the Houston Astros. Thank you so much, folks. Please check out the Substack. The Substack is spacecadetsports.substack.com. You get every article, every meme drop, every podcast, and an occasional video podcast emailed directly to you for free for just putting your email into that field. If you are like me and you like the app experience more, you can just download the Substack app, search Space Cadet Sports. You see the orange astronaut pop up. That is us. Subscribe to us there and ask for notifications instead of emails. You don't get the emails, you just get a little notification every time there is a post. And you can have your own Space Cadet Sports Astros app there. We're also going to be doing some Texans coverage going forward, a little bit of Rockets coverage. I definitely am a huge Houston sports fan, so we will talk about other sports as well as they are starting off and kicking off later this year. Let me know what you think about the podcast. Let me know if you think the Astros are going to win the series against the Philadelphia Phillies. It is going to be a tough series. It is going to be another playoff feeling series here. You can let me know on social media what you think. You can find me at Paul Salazar JR on all social media platforms, and I'll definitely respond to you on the ones that I'm active on, aka the cool ones. Let me know what you think, folks. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I really do appreciate it. We are a small podcast, so we only go as far as our listeners take us. So thanks for all the support. Thanks for the ratings, the reviews, the subscriptions, and the shares. It really does mean a lot. And if you want to consider supporting the podcast, we do have a way that you could subscribe on the Substack. I do have a special up there. The Substack does have minimums, but I try my hardest to make it affordable, to be able to support me. We do appreciate it very much because this is a labor of love, but it takes a lot of time. So thank you very much if you consider doing that. If you have any questions about the Substack or how that works, you could always reach out to me directly, and I'd be happy to answer any of those questions for you. But thank you so much for your support, folks. We do appreciate it. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos Astros.